Kia ora tātou. This presentation has been developed by the Waikato River Authority to support people making applications to our 2026 funding round. Our presentation will provide a high-level introduction to the Waikato River Authority, introduce Te Ture Whaimana and the Clean Up Trust Fund. We'll go over the process for applying to the fund as part of our annual funding round, where we normally allocate $6 million per year to projects to help achieve the vision and strategy. I'll explain the 2026 funding round and where to go on the Waikato River Authority website to access our resources and to help you make your application. We will then step you through our application form in more detail. This slide introduces the Waikato River Authority and Te Ture Whaimana. The Waikato River Authority was established as a result of the Waikato and Waipa River Iwi Treaty Settlement Acts. The authority has three main functions: to promote Te Ture Whaimana and to promote implementation of Te Ture Whaimana in a holistic and coordinated way. Our third function is to fund rehabilitation and restoration initiatives to help achieve Te Ture Whaimana. So you can see that Te Ture Whaimana is central to the functions and purpose of the Waikato River Authority. For the purposes of today, this presentation focuses on the third function of the Waikato River Authority, the administration of our Clean Up Trust Fund. And this year, the Waikato River Authority seeks to award approximately $6 million to eligible projects through our annual contestable funding round. Before we launch into the details of the funding process, I thought I'd take a moment to reflect on the allocation of Waikato River Authority funding to date and the significant outcomes that have been achieved so far. Since 2011, the Waikato River Authority has granted almost $84 million to more than 500 projects, generating the outcomes shown on the slide. With 131 projects currently underway, we expect to see considerable growth in these figures in future. And while most of the projects that we've funded have been for physical restoration, we have also funded projects that help restore and protect the relationship of people with the Waikato River and its catchment. And so far, our funding has been used to engage more than 56,000 people through wānanga, community events and training courses. By way of examples, the Waikato River Authority has funded a variety of physical restoration projects involving riparian fencing and planting, retirement of steep erosion-prone land, restoration of significant sites to iwi, remediation of stream bank and hillside erosion, restoring fish passage for migratory fish, restoration of habitats for taonga species, including whitebait, and wetland restoration projects. The Waikato River Authority also funds projects to restore and protect the relationships that people have with the awa. These types of projects have included projects that improved physical access to the awa and that provide interpretation at important cultural sites. We've also supported the creation of cultural health framework and community and catchment group restoration projects, and projects that improve the capacity and capability for people to undertake restoration projects. This slide shows the key dates and information for the 2026 funding round, which opens on the 2nd of June and closes at 4 p.m. on the 27th of July. Once submitted, the applications are reviewed for eligibility, which is an administrative check, and then passed on to our independent evaluation panel, who review the applications in detail against the criteria in the funding strategy. At this stage in the process, we also seek advice from River Iwi to help assess the consultation and iwi management plan criteria and the alignment of the projects with iwi priorities. From there, the panel's recommendations are considered by the Waikato River Authority Board, with final decisions announced at the end of October. Deeds of funding are then prepared by the Waikato River Authority in December and January for successful projects. And the deed of funding is an important legal agreement between the River Authority and successful applicants. As we go through the application form, you may wonder why we are asking for the information and detail that we are, and I think it's important to know that that information is being used to populate the deeds of funding for those successful projects. So the more that we can pull out of the application at the start, the faster we can get the deeds completed once the project is approved, so that people can get started on their project that following calendar year. It's important to note that projects may not start until the deeds of funding have been fully executed. The River Authority is not able to pay for any work undertaken before that deed of funding takes effect. Before you launch into your application, there's one really important thing to check which is your eligibility. This slide summarises some of the eligibility requirements and exclusions for Waikato River Authority funding. Many of these things are set out in our legislation or are based on our board directives, so it's important that you make sure you check the funding strategy and application guidelines to make sure that your project is eligible. We don't want to waste people's time preparing applications that don't meet the requirements for our funding. As in previous years, applications must be submitted electronically through Smarty Grants, which can be accessed from the WRA website. We've slightly changed the format of our website for 2026. You can see on the screen that there's a new tab at the top of the banner called Our Funding, which is separated into three main parts: before you apply, make an application, and funded projects. Each of the three sections contains links to other supporting documents and landing pages. You can see that the Before You Apply section contains lots of information. That's an important cue about the value of carefully planning your project to give it the best chances of success, and there are a number of resources there to help you. The middle section, Make an Application, contains a link to the online Smarty Grants portal where you must submit your applications before 4 o'clock on the 27th of July. And the third section, Funded Projects, contains a link to the Waikato River Authority GIS map project viewer, and that's to help applicants see priority projects in their area and to also see other projects that have been funded nearby in the past. We really can't overstate the importance of carefully planning your project. Checking the restoration strategy and funding strategy priorities is a critical first step, and we advise applicants to allow plenty of time to develop their project ideas and prepare their project plans and budget along with their project partners, including mana whenua. Make sure you also seek advice from experts and from people who have undertaken similar projects before too. They are often happy to share their knowledge and help others to avoid mistakes that they have made and learned from. And for the first time this year, we'll be providing worked examples and template documents to help you prepare your application. The next part of the presentation focuses on making an application. And we'll also talk a bit more about outcomes, as we're wanting to make sure that we have a good line of sight between the projects we are funding and Te Ture Whaimana, or the vision and strategy. When making applications, it's important for people to think about the outcomes of their project and how they relate to Te Ture Whaimana. In the past, applicants have been asked to relate their proposal to the objectives of Te Ture Whaimana when applying, then at the end of their project to tell us what they measured and what they achieved. This year, we are asking applicants to think about this from the outset. To report on overall progress towards Te Ture Whaimana, the Waikato River Authority uses a report card. The slide shows the 2016 report card, which is currently going through its 10-year review. The report card reports on Te Ture Whaimana in 8 strands, or tauda, that together achieve the holistic vision of Te Ture Whaimana. In 2026, as a start, the Waikato River Authority is asking applicants to consider those 8 strands, or tauda, of the report card and to think about what they can count or describe as part of their project as an indicator of progress towards the aspirational statement for each of those tauda. We will explain how the application form collects this information and the questions that you will need to answer when making your application. Applicants are not starting with a blank slate, and there are some really helpful resources available on our website to help people identify priority projects. This slide shows the Waikato Waipa River Restoration Strategy, which is the blue document in the top left, that was printed in 2018 and sets out a number of priority projects that have been identified and carefully scoped. The other document shown on the slide is the 3-year funding strategy for 2024 to 2026. This is the 2026 version, which is almost exactly the same as the 2025 version. The funding strategy contains information about the priorities and also the rules of the funding process, including our funding criteria and eligibility requirements. This slide also shows a screenshot of the GIS map viewer shown on the right, which is available from the WRA website. It allows you to see visually where the priority projects from the restoration strategy are located, where projects have been previously funded in the past. As part of the new application form, we're asking people to identify how their project links with these priorities in the restoration strategy and how it builds on other projects that have been previously funded. The funding strategy for 2026 is almost exactly the same as the 2025 version, with only minor edits and the addition of one new priority that relates to previously funded projects that have been damaged in recent weather events. We've also made some adjustments to the format of the application form using advice and support from Smarty Grants. The real focus on trying to improve improve user experience, and take advantage of new Smarty Grants tools to help us to gather the information that we need for our reporting.
This is the basic outline the form takes, so before you begin, make sure you've done some careful planning and thought about how your project is aligned with one or more of the 13 to 25 month objectives, which of the report card TODA outcomes you will contribute to, and how your project is linked to the relevant iwi management plans and restoration strategy. Do your homework on costs, get quotes, and if you can, think about building in an allowance for inflation into your budgets. Talk to people. Once you are ready to apply, please select the Apply Now option from our website. This will take you to a login page where you can start a submission or preview the form. If you have applied before, you just enter your email address and password. You can reset your password from this page too. If you have not applied before, you need to register. When you start your submission, you will be asked to read our introduction page and confirm your eligibility. Once you have done that, you will start providing information about your project, as seen here on the screen. We have introduced a new question regarding the primary focus of your project. This helps us to identify the types of projects we fund. Projects may fall into both categories, but you can only select one here, so you really need to think of why you are doing this project. For example, you may decide to plant a section of a stream. Your primary focus is on the environmental restoration. However, an outcome or benefit may be increased connection and interaction with that area, thus restoring people's relationships. Conversely, you may decide to undertake an alpha transfer, and while you are there, you may also do some weed control to keep access ways open. Your primary focus is restoration of people's relationships. However, the outcome or benefit is that of environmental restoration. The short project summary is a brief overview of your project. This will appear on our website and be used in communications with stakeholders. This section is a new layout and is simply why you are doing your project and how you will do it. My why here is to exclude stock from a stream and improve water quality. My how is install a fence. Note, in the example provided, it gives details on the fence standard, length and location. Please ensure you provide sufficient details on your why and your how. Be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. Is this example specific? Yes, it provides length, standard, type and location. Is it measurable? Yes. 1800 metres of fence. Is it achievable? Yes. I can install a 5-wire fence. Is it realistic? Yes. Is it time-bound? Sort of. This example could include a time frame for delivery. Outcomes. This is something we have asked before, however this is a new layout and is based on the report card TODA or strands. The drop-down options ensure consistency across projects and are intended to help focus minds and projects on supporting these outcomes. Once you have selected the TODA, it will expand to provide the aspirational outcome. If you hover on the TODA, the description will pop up so you can see it before you select it. You can select more than one TODA, and you can select the same TODA more than once if you have multiple outcomes. The selections you have made will flow through to your project progress reports so you can provide regular updates on these outcomes. This will become clearer in the next section, measuring outcomes. Once you have selected your TODA, you need to decide how you will determine progress in this area and how you will know if we have achieved the intended outcome. Again, we have a drop-down selection to ensure consistency across projects. Whichever TODA you selected in the previous section will be available here. Everything else will be greyed out. If you want to change that, simply go back to the previous section and add in a new TODA. How these hang together is provided on our website to help you with your selections. Note that the TODA aspirational outcome appears here, not the TODA heading. Once you select the TODA aspirational outcome, several subset options will appear. You simply select the most appropriate one. For example, thinking of our previous fencing example, I would select the subset length of waterway where stock are excluded. My goal is 1800 metres, so I enter the 1800, not the M. How will I assess progress? I will know I have achieved the outcome once the fence is installed and the stock can no longer access the stream. This information was asked in the previous application form in a slightly different format, and the outputs achieved was only captured in final reports. We have redesigned the application form so that these goals will flow through to the reports with the intention of updating progress as you go, rather than just at the end. To 35 mana links. This was also captured in the previous forms. However, it was a tick box question and there was inconsistency in how applicants responded. It was not always clear how the projects would contribute to Te Ture Whai Mana, the vision and strategy, We still want applicants to select up to 3 objectives, but now also to explain how the project will contribute to the objective selected. The intention here is to help focus projects and minds on clearly explaining how the project will help contribute to achieving Te Ture Whaimana, the vision and strategy. Restoration strategy links. Again, this was also captured in the previous forms. However, there was inconsistency in how applicants responded and how we could capture this information in our reporting. By clearly identifying which project assessment form, or PAF, your project contributes to, we hope to have greater clarity around which PAFs are not being picked up. PAF is a funny acronym, and what we really mean is priority projects. We are unable to provide a drop-down selection for this section as there are too many. However, if you click on the hyperlink provided, you will be taken to the priority projects. Once you've selected the correct priority category, you will see the detailed breakdown of each project. Select the one or ones applicable to you via the reference, name, and outline how your project supports the priority project PAF. So we have clicked on the hyperlink and we are taken to the priority projects page of the restoration strategy. Scroll down to the priority locations and projects section. Next, choose the category applicable to you. I have selected Central Lower Waikato as it was the first one. Click on that and a PDF will open. Each PAF, priority project, will have a table where you will see the PAF reference, project name, details, descriptions, and suggested activities lower down in the table. Use this information to complete the application form. The restoration priority maps we showed earlier will help guide you to select the correct priority locations and projects. Remember, there are catchment priorities and iwi priorities. Some projects may contribute to both and may contribute to more than one PAF. It is important to note that some of these PAFs are rather large, so you do not need to do it all in one project. Iwi Environmental Plan links. This section has also been asked previously. Again, we are trying to simplify the form and provide consistency across responses. Simply select the relevant iwi plan and outline how your project is aligned. You can select not applicable if you need to. There is also an opportunity to tell us if your project is considered a priority through any other process, for example, workshop, catchment plans, or policy changes. Budget planning. This is an expansion on previous years. Projects are now required to provide a greater level of detail on the cost breakdown. This improves transparency, allows us to see value for money, and simplifies the evaluation process. You can upload quotes directly against the line item or activity. Quotes are a really important step in your project planning. Funding contributions. This is similar to previous years, just in a new format. The funding source is the name of whomever is providing cash or in-kind funding. Remember, in-kind is goods or services donated. For example, a free venue hire or a community planting day where the labour is free. Funding type. Select from the drop-down cash or in-kind and indicate whether this funding has been confirmed or not. You will not be penalised if the contribution is still pending. We understand that these things are dependent on decision-making processes outside of your control, and various funding sources have different timeframes. You can provide evidence of any confirmed funding in the additional project information section later in the form. Long-term maintenance and transition. We are keen to understand how the project outcomes will continue once funding has ended, so please provide information here. An example of long-term maintenance using my fencing project might be to undertake annual checks of fences with repairs carried out as required, or for a reconnection project, wānanga photos may be held within a Marai's digital library. Project information. This is the same requirement as previous years, and a template can be found on our website if you need help with a project plan. In the additional project information section, you can upload anything that may be relevant and assist the evaluation panel. For example, resource consents, workshop notes, or funding support letters. In this section, we will also ask you to identify if your project is linked to or complements any other projects in the catchment. For example, if this is stage 2 of a previous project or is located next to another site. You can also refer to the Funded Projects section of our website to see other projects and guide you. This section is similar to previous years, just in a different format. Simply select one of the 5 river iwi or not applicable from the drop-down menu. Please ensure the affiliation relates to the project site or the deed holder as opposed to the person completing the application form. If you are acting on behalf of a marae, iwi authority, hapu or any other organisation, please provide a letter confirming you have their authority to act on their behalf. The remaining elements of the form are straightforward questions regarding the legal entity to hold the deed, so this may be marae, individual or organisation, the legal entity status, so is it an iwi authority, is it a partnership, are you the landowner or a limited liability company, the GST details if relevant, so if you're receiving funding of more than $60,000 in any 1 year, we will need to have your GST details. We also ask for your bank account details of the deed holder. So the bank account details, the GST details, and the legal entity must all be in the same name. We ask you to provide a primary contact. So this is who can answer questions about your application and or throughout the project life cycle and will be responsible for project managing and reporting. The final sections are the health and safety and general declarations. You just need to answer these questions, ensure your documents are uploaded, and press submit. Getting additional help. If you need help at any stage of the process, please go to the Before You Apply section of our website. Here you will find useful documents and videos, including examples of a completed application form that may act as a useful prompt. You may contact us with any questions via email. Please use projects@waikatoriver.org.nz. Once the funding round is open, we will also be offering 2 virtual workshops to help guide you with completing your application. Details on how to register will be in our newsletter, email to contacts, and be available on our website. Thank you for your time.
Good luck with your project planning, and we look forward to receiving your applications.
Please reach out if you need to. Ngā mihi.